Welcome to this week's Arts Calendar, produced by the Arts Council of Greater Knoxville. I'm Beth Waters, your host, and today my guest is Arnold Schwarzbart. And he was my guest many years ago, but between us, we cannot tell you when. But Arnold has been an artist here in the Knoxville area for many years, and we know that he was the Artist of the Month for the Arts Council at some point. And but he continues to do his wonderful artwork, and I called him up to say, haven't seen you in a long time. Are you still very involved? Knowing that he was. So we're here to have a refresher course on how your artwork has progressed throughout the years and how things have changed for you. First of all, explain to our viewing audience the type artwork that you do. I know, but they may not know.
I make primarily Judaica. That's sort of a generic term for Jewish ritual objects and other kinds of artwork. So illuminated manuscripts would be Judaica, and goblets for doing a blessing over wine would be Judaica. All kinds of stuff that you need in order to practice the Jewish religion at home, and a few things in the synagogue. But at home, you would light candles on Friday night, Passover, which is coming up. You would have a Passover plate, a Seder plate on the table, and a goblet for the prophet Elijah, who symbolically visits homes. All kinds of stuff that you need. And when we last saw each other, I was very involved in making all those different kinds of pieces, maybe 25 or 30 different pieces in my line that used to be sold at synagogue gift shops, museum gift shops, retailers, and so forth. In the intervening years, I've been very lucky and have gotten an increasing number of commissions, larger works to do for synagogues. So that's what I've been busy with primarily for the last 10 years now.
Well, and I remember feeling so bad. It's like, oh, this poor man just has to work to death. And probably at that time when you were producing, maybe 25 of the same piece, but many varied with very little help, but you had help but very little. No wonder I felt so bad for you.
Well, I'm still real busy, but now they're bigger projects, so there's not as many of them. UPS doesn't come to my studio as often as they used to, but when they do, they now take away larger packages.
And they're more careful.
And they're more careful. At least I try to be in packing.
Well, so your commission, now that you have your name, your name, so within the network of the community, your work, what am I trying to say? You probably have it lined up for months in advance.
Sometimes. I'm now doing work over much of the eastern part of the country, so the next commissions that I'll be delivering are in Kansas City, which is still sort of in the middle of the country. Haven't done much out in California or that far west, but in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and lots of other cities. I've now installed works in various synagogues.
When it keeps you interested, and you probably don't have to, it's like, okay, I've been working on this one piece for a week, I'm stuck, but I think I'll go work on piece number 2, and you can do it at your own pace, but I'm sure that the phone rings. Is it ready?
I think that a lot of people have a very romantic view of what it means to be involved in crafts and so forth. I'm afraid that I go to work pretty early in the morning and work all day. It's not just when the spirit moves me. And of course, some of the big projects, a lot of it is just hard work and takes a long time to complete. However, at the moment, I'm very excited about doing this project in Kansas City because I'm collaborating with a local artist who does murals, painting, and so forth. And I don't paint especially well. And so we're doing a tile wall, actually 4 tile walls together. The tile is handmade in the studio, etc., but he's actually doing the figurative painting on the tile, and it's really coming out very nice. I'm really excited about getting it in place now.
Well, how do you work with an artist in Kansas City if he's...
No, he's here.
Oh, he's here. Okay.
I've had the opportunity to collaborate with a number of local artists, craftspeople, on projects, because when I design a project for a synagogue, it isn't always in clay, which is my primary medium. So if I want to do it in something else, then I find somebody that, generally somebody I know, whose work I really respect, and then ask them if they're willing to collaborate with me on some given project. And I brought some slides.
Oh, that's great. Well, we want to...
Some of those.
Well, and the artist that you're working with, do we know this artist?
Certainly could. The one I'm working with right now is Jim Wyatt. He has Wyatt Gallery, which is in one of the old Victorian houses on 11th, just above the Museum of Art. He has a frame shop and gallery there, and he's been in Knoxville for quite some years now. And
that's great.
Does nice work.
Oh, I love to see that combination. Well, let's take a minute and look at the slides that Arnold has brought our way.
Now, last time we saw each other, this was the kind of work that I was still doing. That's a Passover plate in an Elijah's cup, and a shop or gallery could order one of those or three of those, however many they wanted, and even though they were all done by hand, there's still a certain amount of individuality with each piece. And the next slide. That's actually a functional ritual object, but there's a little bit of story that goes behind it. In the Jewish tradition, from the day of the Exodus, and since we're talking about Passover, from the day of the Exodus until the law was given at Sinai, that was on the 50th day. So in the Bible, in Leviticus, it says you'll count for yourself 49 days. That means that from the Passover until the holiday that celebrates the giving of the law at Sinai, you essentially emotionally prepare yourself to be worthy of the reenactment of the giving of the law. So this thing that looks sort of like an abacus is actually a device for counting the 49 days. But the real reason I brought this slide is because there's a potter here in town, and he's been teaching lately. His name's Peter Rose. He's taught at a number of the elementary and I think maybe junior high schools. He's really great with kids, really a natural teacher, and was one of my earlier teachers when I started expanding my ceramic work. This is the ceramic slab that's pit fired and really has wonderful color and texture running all through it. At the same time, because of these little tags that you move across, I had to learn enameling so that I could put a durable finish on these tags. And I went to Arrowmont and took a course in enameling, and that led to some more pieces.
Well, you just are keeping interested in a lot of different works.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Go learn something new.
In our tradition, on the anniversary of the death of a member of your immediate family, so I'm talking about, for example, my parents who are gone, on the anniversary of their death, you light a candle that burns for at least 24 hours, and that's also an enamel on copper piece that is essentially a lantern for that candle. You can just see the candle inside. This is another piece of the enameling, and I hate to say this, but I'm really, really proud of this piece. When I took the course up at Arrowmont, there was a man teaching metalworking in the shop next to the enameling shop. So with a little of his help, I learned how to take a round cup, hammer it out into 6 sides, and learned enough about enameling techniques to actually do this little piece. This is a Kiddush cup, and on the silvery face that we see, the word actually says Kiddush. The word Kiddush means sanctification. So on Friday nights, you do a blessing over a cup of wine to sanctify the coming Sabbath, and so that cup would be used, but I also do it with a variety of texts for Passover, for weddings, and so forth. This is one of my bigger projects, and actually also another collaborative project. Again, since I'm not much of a painter, there was a woman who taught at the university. She's now teaching in Philadelphia, named Morna Livingston. And Morna helped me paint all of the ceramic tile with a sort of a somewhat abstracted landscapey scene. And then what you see are brass plaques that dedicate, well, it's a dedication wall, and the people who made contributions to this facility have their names on brass plaques that are mounted on my ceramic wall. That kind of donor recognition artwork has actually been very good for me, and I've gotten to do a number of these projects around the country.
When I remember Morna Livingston.
Oh yeah, she's wonderful.
From years back.
This is a piece that I just installed in St. Louis in a synagogue. It's a stoneware, and then up above and below, there's a running brick border that I actually made out of brick clay that I got from General Shale here in town. But I also wanted to mention the woodwork in between the sections of tiles that I did and the covers for the light fixtures up above were done by Ernie Gross here in town. And Ernie's a wonderful furniture and cabinet maker. And I think maybe the next slide, given any luck at all, whoop, wrong slide. It's okay. This is another one of these donor walls. This one is in Kansas City at a synagogue that I did a few years ago. There's the piece that Ernie and I collaborated on. And he made the cabinet. It's an ark for the front of a chapel where the Torah scrolls go. And there is text that's gold leaf, and 4 different animals are imagery because the text actually refers to being as bold as a leopard and swift as a gazelle, strong as a lion and swift as an eagle, to do the will of your Father in heaven.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we can plug Ernie Gross because he's one of my favorite people.
Yeah,
and he can just do and make about anything out of wood.
He's very good.
He's such an artist.
This is a piece that is in Washington, D.C., in a very large congregation there. And I did the ceramic above and below, which is a sort of a D.C. skyline above and a old city Jerusalem view down below. But all the gold leaf in between, which I really wasn't capable of doing, was done by Richard and Chris Zemmel, another couple who are here in town.
They've been on my show. They do wonderful work,
Gold leaf is their specialty.
Yes.
This is a Hanukkah menorah. It's oil burning. I brought it just because it's a piece that I'm very fond of and was not done collaboratively, did it all myself.
And you're proud of it. We're proud of you too.
This is a little sculptural piece, and it is not actually a ritual object, but it does contain dried fruit that is traditionally used on one of the Jewish holidays, and that piece has been nicely received, was juried into a national ceramics show, not Jewish art, but just ceramics, and so I was kind of proud of that. This piece is another piece that Peter Rose helped me with, not in the sense of having done any of it, but he loaned me his raku kiln to fire in. He taught me how to fire his raku kiln, and so Peter has really been helpful to me over the years. This is a sculptural piece, and one of the earlier larger pieces that I did that sort of helped me attract some of the larger commissions that I've been doing, because I've been doing this kind of small stuff for home use and really felt the need to try to create some larger things to show that I could work larger than just cups and plates. This piece was also done collaboratively. There's a wonderful jewelry artist here in Knoxville, Michael Tomlinson. He's currently teaching, I think, in videography at Pellissippi. This is a mezuzah that was done in honor of Rabbi Simon, who has been rabbi at Temple Bethel for the last 13 years, and he just retired. And this piece, I was commissioned to do this piece for their lobby in his honor and years of service to the synagogue. Michael and I also worked on this piece together. This is an eternal light, and an eternal light of some form hangs at the front of every sanctuary in a Jewish house of worship. This is sterling and beveled glass, and then there's a single real bright light inside, and it reflects and diffracts wonderfully off the glass bevels. And I think we must be getting to the end of the slides that I brought. This is also a piece that Michael and I did together. It's bronze. It's on the front of a synagogue. It's outdoors. And the form, which some of you will recognize as Spock's posture of live long and prosper? Well, that actually comes from the Jewish tradition. That is the traditional pose in which the priests held their hands while they blessed the congregation. So this is another piece that Michael helped me do, and we worked on the wax together, and then I took it to the foundry to be cast. So that's what I've been busy with lately.
Oh, you have been so busy, and I'm so proud of all of your work. You have, to coin an old phrase, you've come a long way, baby. But it just warms my heart that you've done so well in your artwork throughout the years, and I'm so pleased that you came on to share what you've been doing. I had no idea, and I think it's great that you've been working with all the other artists that I know too.
It's really good. I mean, it's not just good for the project. It's good for me to have some contact with peers, to work collaboratively, and have something come out that more than one person had their minds and hands in.
A true artist, and that's Arnold Schwarzbart. And maybe he'll come on again in a few years.
Another 10 years.
Who knows what great things lie in store for Arnold. We'll see you next time.